Hi, welcome to Gender Nebulous Season 2, Episode 7. We have the wonderful Kate Anderson, and Kate is a graphic artist and she's a phoner inner of talk TV shows on LBC and making a nuisance of herself there usually. And what else do you do, Kate?
I am a musician, which
Oh, yeah, I
is
forgot
I
about
spent
that.
a lot of my youth playing in bands and stuff.
Right,
So
cool.
at the moment, putting that to good use, putting together an album for charity.
Yeah, I've heard you
Cool.
told me about this. So what kind of music is it? Is there any particular kind of music that you
No,
do?
it's anybody who's trans or an ally can get involved, do
Right.
collaborations. We
Mm.
do, although I don't want to reveal anybody who's going to be on it, but I did get like quite a big artist to contribute a
Oh,
track this
that's
morning.
cool. That's
And
cool.
also we have somebody who's a musician from quite a famous singer who's also going to contribute some stuff.
Is it
That's
Sam
amazing.
Smith?
No,
Tim
Oh,
Bentley.
okay.
no.
Just checking.
Well,
And
I
it's
was-
just a case of people, anybody trans who's a musician or whatever can join in, and we're going to try and do some collabs and then record some tunes and then release it for charity.
that
So is
sounds
this
amazing.
going to be like on a little? You're going to try and sell a little CD or something, or is it
We're
online?
going to put it on Bandcamp for
Okay,
people
right.
to buy
Listen,
digitally.
listen to Vicky
I know.
CD.
Yeah, Bandcamp. Yeah. See, I'm still in the 80s.
Anyway,
Yeah, it'd be
yeah.
nice to have vinyl, but
Well, I use Bandcamp. I've got a few things on there, and the last thing I did was a remix of a parliamentary select committee meeting. Believe it or not, I don't know. Did I send you that? It was
yeah, you
it
did.
was
I heard it. It was good.
Adam
Yeah.
Kaiser
But most of
going.
your stuff's on SoundCloud, isn't it? Really?
It's on SoundCloud as well. I
Yeah.
mainly put it on SoundCloud. It's just easier to share it from there. But yeah, so that sounds great. And
It's okay. I think first of all, I must just congratulate on you the way you owned Andrew Castle in that interview when you did the phone in a while ago.
yeah,
Yeah,
I thought that was brilliant. Well done.
And
Well,
obviously I'm not particularly that nervous about talking to people who are well known or anything else like that. So I can think quick on my feet and things like that. And
I think it was the casualness of it. How you
yeah,
because sometimes when I've been in those situations, I can get quite heated and flustered because the presenter is sometimes not really listening to you, but you were just kind of yeah, whatever, yeah, what about this, like, and it was just like
I can't remember the full topic of the conversation now, but it was something about, I think what you said was, women aren't born, you're
yeah,
not born
he
with
was
breasts.
saying,
no
yeah,
children. Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, he. I think the thing that I said was, they're not born women; people are born babies, which
Yeah,
is
that's
what
it.
I
Yeah,
said. Yeah,
yeah, that was how
and
you said it.
What's your opinion on, going on these kind of right-wing shows like, GB News and those kind of things? I mean, we have, Frida and I have discussed this with other guests. Like, what do we think about trans people going on those shows? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? There's a kind of a split opinion around. Some people
Like
think it's good, some don't.
Yeah,
I
so
just wonder what you thought, really.
Jess was saying, Jess from the Trans Safety Network was saying she doesn't agree. I agree with her as well, where she said, no, it doesn't benefit us because really they're just making a show of you kind of thing. Whereas Peter Tatchell was like, no, you've got to get in that space, disrupt that conversation.
Yeah, well, Peter Tatchell and Robin White both said you got to get in there and disrupt it because they both go on those shows and, they're like the lone voice who's talking sense. So, you disrupt what's going on, and if nobody was there, you wouldn't hear that voice. So what do you think?
I think it's a bit of both, really. I suppose it depends how the conversation is set up, who the conversation is with, who you're being pitted against. Because let's face it, GB News is just a gladiatorial. It's like for the modern era, isn't it?
Dan Wooten.
Yeah. So
let's not say too much about him.
Yeah. Oh, please. So I would be wary about doing it, but I understand why people want to it, and I think good for them. But as somebody, for myself, as somebody who's not particularly well known or anything, I would worry about how it would affect my outside life.
Yeah, well, that's what happened to me, really.
Yeah. And
yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, like when I have been on, I've had successes and failures. Like I think one of the best ones was when I was on Dan Wooten, actually, because they had Lisa Townsend on, the police commissioner for Surrey, I think she was.
Yeah.
And she just didn't know what the hell she was talking about.
Of course not. She's been radicalized with nonsense in echo chambers. None of it stands up to scrutiny.
So yeah, that kind of worked in my favor. And I thought actually Dan Wooten, I was actually worried about, it was quite fair, to be honest, because he said, he gave me the floor to say what I wanted. He didn't interrupt me. And it, that's all you need, really, isn't it? But the other problem is, like, sometimes I worry about going on something with somebody who I've had a ding dong with on Twitter.
Yes.
Because, like, say if I was to go on something and they said, oh, it's May 4th data, I think I'd have to start by saying, first of all, can I just say sorry for things I might have said on Twitter? Because I want to have a serious conversation with you. And I would have to start it like that, because she could turn around within that conversation and go, well, Frida actually said to me, you're a silly cow. But it would be worse than that. But that's just one example. Do you know what I mean? So she would have the power. If I didn't go in there and say, look, first of all, can I just address something? If I went on and I didn't mention that, she would have the power in that conversation.
I think if you're going to go on these shows, you got to make sure that the points you want to make, and make sure that you make those points. Don't get knocked off, off track of what you're trying to say, because there will be constant interruptions, and you need to make your points and keep making your points. I think that's what Peter Tatchell does when he goes on. So he always stays very calm, keeps repeating the points, makes his point, and then that's it, it's done.
Because he was on LBC the other day, actually, when I was listening, talking to somebody about the headline about the, I don't know, transing kids or whatever it said in the newspaper. And
was it about the Tavistock?
Yeah, so he was just pointing out factually what was correct in the article and what wasn't correct.
So I think if you're going to go on, you need to adopt that kind of style.
Well, like I said, I spoke to you about this before, Kate, about I'm ringing you up and saying, do you want to go up? Because I do get quite a few offers, but I'm trying to get more I'm trying to get away from GB News, to be honest, because I feel as though I've had those conversations too many times. I feel like there's only so many times I can keep saying the same shit, because it doesn't move the conversation on. And if I keep leaning into it and letting them do that, so the only way I could do it is to look, I'll come on, but you have to talk about the actual issue. You have to talk about it factually, but they never want to do that. So I've been trying to get contact. I just look at media contacts pages constantly, and I just find that one producer. I could email like 25 producers a day, but one of them might reply, and that's just how I work. It's like fishing. If you throw a big enough net out, you might catch some.
It depends on the style of the show and what they're looking for, though, isn't it? Because it's really difficult, for instance, for somebody who's not a well-known commentator or whatever to get anywhere near the breakfast television shows at all. They just won't entertain it. So
one of the worst ones I did, I think it wasn't a really good performance on my part, was Julia Hartley-Brewer, because she wasn't listening to a word I was saying. I said, look, Julia, I'm not being funny, but you platform people that are very much linked to the far right. And she goes, oh, so you're calling everybody a Nazi now, are you? And I was like, you put that word in your own mouth. I didn't say that.
I think you need to avoid the confrontation bit, like, in those kind of bits. I mean, that's what we were saying before about, stick to your points.
So the fallout from that was, because she's got a massive audience among right-wing groups like Turning Point and all that. So they retweeted the Talk TV Twitter, and bloody hell, it was like relentless for about 24 hours. And people started ringing my place of work, finding out where I worked and all this. And I was like, bloody hell. So I did a little report on it, just to send back to Talk TV, because they don't give a toss really. But I thought I have to say something. I have to make it known that I know what happened, because it was emotionally quite distressing. Vicky knows, because I was like,
did you end up becoming like like
hate figure.
a retweeted clown almost, don't you? It's
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
they pick something up
Yeah.
and with clever editing.
And the thing that annoyed me most about it is they didn't even bother to listen to what I had to say. They'd screenshot it where I look like, halfway through the sentence. And they go, look at the state of this fella. I was like, and that was it. That was the only thing they had to say. So, I mean, I didn't expect them to analyze it in any great depth and go, oh, maybe this would change my mind. No, that wasn't going to happen. But I didn't really expect them to be such school bullies about the whole thing. And to be fair, like I did know what I was getting into. I didn't do it naively. I did know the kind of people that, and part of the reason I did it was because of that, because that's why I like writing the articles for Talk TV, because there are people that think Talk TV is their domain. Like, like Helen Joyce and Mayor Forstate, I really do. They think GB News, Talk TV are their domain. So if I can write something that directly counters something they've said, that's more powerful than having an article, in some little Democracy Now or some, you know what I mean? I mean, that's not little. I'm not playing it down. I'm just saying, if you write for a little left-wing thing like a blog, some people might read it, and it might please the regular readers, but it won't cross that bridge, and it won't have the effect that I want it to have, which is maybe I'm a bit of a troll.
No, I think with the people that are anti-trans, they have a lot of money. They can
buy their way on.
It's also they know a lot of people with a lot of money, and the people with a lot of money are running all these things.
Yeah, that's true.
So they're all linked. So it's really difficult when you're somebody because the trans community on the whole quite poor.
Yeah,
and we don't have the doors that aren't open for us. And
another factor is a lot of trans people don't really want to be involved in politics, and why should they? They just want to get on with their lives, play a few computer games, watch.
Well, if you think about what happens to the average trans person who gets involved with these things, they just get, you just look on Twitter and see what happens to them afterwards.
But I was
not many people want to do that. I mean, it's very distressful.
You see, I wasn't really inspired to do it by other trans people. I looked at the way people treated people around Jeremy Corbyn for speaking out, and the way they were cut down. And I thought, if they come at me, it means I'm doing something right. Do you know what I mean? If they come at me and try and defame me, it means there's something going on that I can work with. If you're ignored, then there's nothing.
But this kind of plays into that, that conversation we have about protest, and each to their own when it comes to the kind of protests that you do. Because you have to think about the consequences of what you're doing as well. I think the same thing applies if you're going on the shows like that, and because you're going to get a lot of backlash on Twitter. So you've got to be really aware of what you're walking into. Do you get involved with any kind of protesting or?
I've done protesting at the trans things, and I've been down to London and marched and things a few times. I did one earlier this year. Outside Parliament, and one last year as well, and I went to the Trans Pride as well in London last year, but I didn't go this year because I wasn't in the country. And I do. I mean, they are great because you do get to be around a lot of other trans people, and you feel freer to speak your mind in those situations.
So the Trans Prides are really good because you do get to do the protest march, and
go out dancing. Which
that's it. I mean, like the best kind of protests are the ones that you have a bit of jolly and joyety. I mean, speaking of Trans Pride London, I mean, like what happened with my friend Sarah Jane Baker was a bit extreme, but I have written about that on my blog. What happened, and I think she was treated really unfairly, but.
So my viewpoint on that, and I did say afterwards, I think it was misunderstood. I said that you have to be careful what you say, not because I think it's correct that you have to be careful what you say, but the people that put you in prison aren't trans, are they? No. People that put you in prison are cis. So the people that allowed you to come out of prison and then decided you need to go back in are cis. And if they don't like it, it's really unfair that that's the system, and it's really unfair what's happened to her.
Yeah. Well, it's a complicated set of circumstances for Sarah. It wouldn't have happened to you or me, I don't think.
No, of course, because
But the thing with it is, like, when Sarah made that little speech, the crowd cheered, because in a way, metaphorically, what she's saying is what is kind of in the inner frustration that lots of trans people are feeling. And it's not, it does, I don't think she means it literally, what she said, but because of her history, because of why she was out on license from prison, she's got let's not get into the history of crimes, but
yes, of course,
it was a very mitigating circumstance. So, like, I wouldn't let it put anyone off protest, because the idea now is the government want people to not protest. They don't want,
of course.
So they'll use somebody like Sarah as an example, but her example is not an everyday example. Now, saying that, I've seen Just Stop Oil protesters being dragged off the street by members of the public. And that's because the government is demonizing them. It's because there was an incident, I saw a video of a protester being kicked.
Yeah.
Now, whatever you think about Just Stop Oil, or whether you think that what they're doing is good or bad, nobody should be getting kicked in the street. But the reason that's happening is because there are politicians, there are people in Parliament praising the behaviour of people dragging protesters off the street, rather than the other way around. Protesters should be respected because that's how historically things have changed. It's more demonisation of the protester. So what happened with Sarah is make an example.
Yeah, so that's my point that I made on Twitter. I think that in terms of her, that unfortunately cis people have got the power over her.
Well,
because of the situation she was. I've seen her speaking before. I know her story. So and the power that they have over her, they have exercised, and it's a real shame because it's a metaphorical thing to say that, like when someone says,
I think the police at the
my dick
scene
or something.
The police at the scene, I think, had a word with her, and then it wasn't, they kind of let her go.
Well, Suella Braverman.
It was Suella Braverman that kind of insisted that something more be done.
Something going on there. But it's like when people say "smash the patriarchy," they don't mean punch men. Well, although they might, I won't blame them if they did. But it's a metaphorical thing. It's like. Because I think it's like any kind of protest. Like, I mean, Billy Bragg once famously sang, "I used to want to plant bombs at the last night of the proms." It's a protest. That's what protest is about. It doesn't mean he literally wants to blow the proms.
I mean, she could have used better words, but it is what
I used to want to plant bombs at the last night of the proms.
Yeah,
you like Billy Bragg, don't you? You like Billy Bragg, I've noticed. You post a lot of Billy Bragg's tweets.
I do, yeah, because I'm like 51, so Billy Bragg was part of the people my age's youth. If you were left wing, Red Wedge, dealing with the miners and all the rest of it. So
it was really. He's always been on the right side of history, let's say. And I've always felt with Billy, it's very genuine. It's not like it's no posturing. He just definitely believes in it. It's like and actually I like Billy's more country stuff as well. There's a really, the stuff he did with Natalie Merchant.
Yeah,
I love that stuff. It's like anyway, kind of a bit of a tangent there.
Yeah,
about Billy Bragg,
he's somebody that you can trust, I think. And for celebrities or musicians, they are few and far between.
Yeah, and this is why you get all the little turflings, I call them, the turfs with less than 3,000 followers, who all call themselves Billy Bragg Asaurus or something like that.
Yeah,
and it's because they're frightened of somebody like that, because it's like what they do to Owen Jones. Like Julie Bindle has been trying for about 5 years to destroy Owen Jones, and every time she tries, she makes herself look a little bit worse.
Yeah.
And she was mouthing off actually this week about her book being taken out of a library. There was a lot. I don't know if the story is true, but a librarian decided, I'm not going to keep this book out. If people want it, they can request it. It's still going to be in the library. It's just not going to be on the shelf. So they're saying it's like some kind of Nazi book burning. They're taking our books up.
Nobody borrowed it. They go down the list of books that are going in and out of the library, and then decide we need the shelf space for the
it's in the box in the back room.
Yeah,
you want it.
So you can ask for it.
Yeah, there's loads of books. I mean, I could probably go in a library now and find a book by from about Nazism if I wanted. But that's a bit of an extreme example, I know, but. The point is, the books they forever exist. And even when Nazis were burning books, it was a metaphorical burning of certain things. Well, not always, because they did literally burn a lot of the work a lot of sexologists did in the 20s. That was, what led to a lot of discoveries about transgender identity.
Magnus Hirschfeld.
Yeah, there's a fantastic thing. I was watching Heartstopper, and after that finished, this thing came on about I've got such a bad memory. I sent you the link, didn't I, Vicky? What was it? Let me just have a look on my WhatsApp.
Not sure.
So it was a documentary about the 20s in Nazi Germany and about the gay scene.
That's on Netflix.
Yeah, there was a lot of
I think I've seen that.
What you would call trans. It wasn't really codified the same way as it is now as being transgender. So a lot of cross-dressers, a lot of transvestites, a lot of people that would you probably see as non-binary just got all lumped into the same kind of category. And so I'm just getting it up now. It's called.
So what did you think of Heartstopper? What do you think of Heartstopper? You didn't like it?
No, it's just some kids on the mobile phones. It's like,
have you seen it, Kate? Heartstopper?
No. I thought
it was really nice. It's like Grange Hill for queer kids. It's kind of fun. It's sweet. It's really romantic. Yeah. It's fun.
I don't actually watch a lot of queer kind of.
It's on Netflix.
Television.
I really enjoyed it. There's two series out now.
I am being flippant. It is a good drama, but the thing is with it. It's not for me because I like things that are quite dark and weird.
Yeah, it's definitely not dark. It's all fluffy and lovey. So it's really nice.
I'm a bit more David.
If you just need to chill out and you want to watch something nice and fun, and heartwarming, watch Heartstopper.
Whenever there's something out, if anybody's ever telling me about something, a film or a TV series, the first thing I ask is, how does it end?
Well, that ruins the whole thing, then, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's not the way to look at it.
No, because it's just how my brain works. I usually watch the last episode of something first, so I don't waste my time.
Okay, let's talk about Barbie. Have you seen Barbie? Okay.
I've not seen Barbie. No, I went to see Oppenheimer.
Well, got to go and watch Barbie. We went to see it last Friday, didn't we?
We were going to do the double bill. We were going to do the Barbieheimer, but what we didn't bank on is that Oppenheimer sold out because it was only showing twice, whereas Barbie was showing every hour.
Like every hour it was on. It's one of the theaters.
The hot take really about Barbie is it's like this mirror world. So what we accept as a misogynistic culture. Like we do live in a patriarchal society, it's completely flipped. So in Barbie world, all the women are president, and all the members of Congress are women, and it's like that's the story. But the thing that really interested me was the Ken story because it reminded me a bit of we live in this TikTok culture now where you'll see a lot of trad wife stuff.
Yes.
Have you heard of
I've seen it.
Have you heard of Just Pearly Things?
Oh, unfortunately, yes.
And it reminded me of that and the Andrew Tate thing.
Yes.
So you've got these two kind of regressive ideas being pushed by the not far right. I think it's more of a centre right because they're trying to combat what they consider the Dylan Mulvaney culture.
There's a lot of themes going on in the movie, to be honest.
So really, Barbie is Dylan Mulvaney, in my imagination, and Ken was these kind of negative stereotypes of men, and it was that convergence of like what we politicize. So on one level, Barbie. And any kind of person like Dylan Mulvaney, it's just clowning, it's just a toy. But everything is inherently political as soon as it hits the screen because somebody is controlling that feed. You might think it's you because you might algorithmically choose and then it might suggest things. But there's something else going on behind the scenes. like there's some hidden algorithm. Because I've noticed when I've been on TikTok, I've been on Instagram, and I'm scrolling things. Think, what the hell is that? I'm like, why am I looking at that? And you end up getting angry because you're seeing things you don't want to see. But that's part of the thing now, isn't it? It's like that's what gets them. It's like it's a very polarized thing. It's like it's either stuff you get angry at or stuff you love. And
so just going back to Barbie, because you're going down a TikTok.
I was just about to land the point then.
Oh, go on then. Land the point.
I've lost it now.
Oh, you've lost it now. Okay.
No.
So there was there was a real kind of theme of invasion in that movie, where you got like the people in Barbie world kind of invade the real world, and then you've got the corporate Mattel people go and invade Barbie Land. You know, you got all these kind of conflicts going on in the movie between various different.
I just want to show you while we're talking about Barbie. I actually bought Space Barbie. And it's based on a real astronaut called Samantha Cristoforti, and I've not unboxed it yet. But can you see it?
So when did that person go to space?
Is that a Barbie or is it a fake?
It's an actual Barbie.
It's
It's by Barbie. It's by Mattel, and this cost me some ridiculous amount of money.
So, which flight was Samantha on?
It's the European Space Agency. And
okay.
I'm just looking now.
So she went up to
She's been to the International Space Station.
Yes, that's it, the ISS. Yeah.
So I'm going to unbox this now live.
Yeah, there you go. So while Frida's doing that, can you tell us about Oppenheimer? Okay.
Yeah,
that's the next one we're going to go and see.
Yeah, well, I don't want to I don't want to spoil it.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
We know what happens.
I'm not going to tell you who wins.
Some guy invents a bomb. That's all I know.
It's kind of so you'll see when you go actually that it's
we're going tomorrow.
Color in one part and black and white in another.
Oh, right.
And each part of the film at the beginning is labeled only once for you to get it, as fusion or fission.
Right.
Okay. Yep. So you're following the viewpoint of Robert Oppenheimer himself. And then also you're following the black and white bits for the Robert Downey Jr. part. I don't remember the name of his character, to be honest with you.
So it's not like black and white is the far past and like the colour is the nearer future kind of thing.
No, it doesn't work like that. No, you think that at first. You think, oh, look, this is the way they're going about telling us the future and the past. But it's not like that at all. It's a way to differentiate between the two characters.
Right. That's really interesting way of doing it.
Yeah, so I mean, I was really interested in that time period anyway, because actually I love those kind of documentaries about things to do with I shouldn't say this, should I? But the Second World War and all that sort of thing. So
I love anything about the space race. What was he called? The German rocket man who built the moon rocket.
Werner
von Braun.
That's
most famous now for hairdryers.
Yeah, so have you seen the Apple TV thing for all mankind?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, you have.
Yeah.
Because that's like an amazing alternate history of
it's really interesting how they do that alternate history, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got all these like what gadgets that we have today back in the 50s.
Yeah. And also everybody that's portrayed is like a person to a certain point that actually existed and was part of it all.
Yeah, it was really
if you're really into it, you get an idea of what would have happened had the Russians landed first.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, that would be amazing. Would have been well, it wouldn't have been amazing. I'm just saying that the story's amazing.
Yeah, you need to watch that, Frida.
You do, yeah.
So is that on Apple?
Apple TV, yeah.
Right, I'm sure I've still got an Apple subscription. I subscribe to Apple because of Jon Stewart.
Right, okay. Well, there's some actually good shows on. I mean, no offense to Jon Stewart. Oh, that's amazing.
Space Barbie.
You have to hang it from the ceiling so it's weightless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can she speak?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just checking. What's she telling you?
She's saying, all this time there's only been 6 female astronauts and one of them was Russian and she got there before us. That's true. The first astronaut was a female astronaut.
I mean, do you count? Do you count if you don't quite make it? If you get on the rocket but you blow up in the sky?
I think it still counts. course.
But I
'Cause there
wonder.
was two on there, wasn't there?
I
Teachers.
Yeah.
This is a good thing. I know we're still talking about films and stuff, but you know Elon Musk. Have you heard of him?
Unfortunately,
he's building this massive rocket, and his plan is to send people to Mars, isn't it?
Well, I think he should be the first to go.
yeah.
I think he should be on that rocket himself.
And when he's coming back, we should just turn all the lights off, pretend we're not home.
Yeah, imagine.
Once exactly.
I just said, imagine
Can't find his way
being
back.
the first passengers, because everyone he's launched so far has either landed and blown up on the launch pad, had some catastrophe. So I'd be so like, how much money would you? Because it's always these super billionaires that want to ride on a rocket, isn't it? So imagine if like the 7 richest people in the world went on a rocket with Elon. They did have to sign something that said what we're going to do with our money if we die. I was thinking, wow, well, bloody hell, that's a lot of money. You could probably rescue some countries' economies with that.
Did you, talking to things like that, did you see that Don't Look Up on Netflix?
I did, yeah, I loved that.
Yeah. So the ending of that
that
kind of reminds me of probably what Musk and Bezos are actually trying to do.
Yes.
I think that's their actual plan.
Was that the documentary around?
It's not a documentary.
SpaceX?
It's a comedy with Leonardo DiCaprio
Okay, I'm thinking
about...
of something else.
It's about how television and the media distract you from what's going on around you, and are so dumbed down that you don't believe your own eyes because Fox are telling you something different.
It reminded me when I was watching that. It reminded me of Douglas Adams, the way it was written. I don't know if you've ever saw the original Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
I've read all the Douglas Adams books when I was a kid.
There's a bit in the Hitchhiker's Guide where the human race isn't evolved from apes as we thought. We've developed from a race of like telephone sanitizers or something. And
it was hairdressers and middle managers.
Yes, that was it. Yeah,
and the ship's captain.
Yeah. It's really great. I mean, I was really disappointed with the Hitchhiker's movie because I didn't think it had the charm of the series or the book. And I just thought they were missing something. I don't know if you've seen it, Vicky.
Probably have. I don't know.
But Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is so... See, I mean, this is probably really tangential, but a lot of trans issues remind me of... Because there's a bit where they go to a supercomputer to try and find out the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. And this reminds me of the question of what is a woman, because they build this computer that runs for millions and millions of years, and then at the end of the day, when people in the future want the answer's 42. Meaning that there is no answer, and you didn't know what the question meant.
So maybe when we're asked that question, what is a woman, we should start saying 42.
42, yeah.
42.
Because there is no ultimate answer to life, the universe, and everything. And the point is that being human is the answer, right? This is another thing. Like people that use the phrase adult human female seem to forget the word human quite often. Interestingly,
that's why they've moved
this podcast we've done so far. I think,
because the word human in the dictionary definition is at the end of that statement. They've moved it to the middle, and they've moved the female to the end.
Yeah.
To give it more importance rather than the human part is more important.
Whenever I see that question, I always say, well, what is a, what is a female? It's like, it's a question that people ask. That's what it is.
The problem with the question is that woman isn't one thing, and woman doesn't necessarily relate to biology or psychology or philosophy. It can relate to all those things. It's like asking somebody, what is art? Now, somebody might, it's a painting. It's this thing. It's Michelangelo's David. It's an idea. It's just whatever because words like that don't have an intrinsic kind of, it's not like describing an object where you say, what is a piece of wood? It's although that could have just as many different answers.
The thing that I always say to people that ask sort of those kind of questions, especially when they say, well, you're calling yourself that now, whatever is, well, what did you call an orange before it was called an orange kind of thing? Yeah. It's like what things don't come into existence because a word comes into existence.
I've been playing a little game on Twitter just recently where before when I used to argue with TERFs and they used to say, what is a woman? I used to kind of avoid that question because I thought I don't want to get into a vexatious kind of ping pong of. So now I just say trans women are women. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. And they never can because there isn't a singular definition. And it's this quest for certainty and quest for absolutes which leads people down a path of authoritarianism, because people that want certainty, like I would say Helen Joyce, those kind of they will kind of use the opinions of men they think are in authority, like Richard Dawkins or Robert Winston, whatever his name is, and they'll just go on and think, oh yeah, a man and woman, you can't change sex. It's like, well, now what? It still doesn't answer anything. Just because you've got a powerful man to say it doesn't. But this is what the TERFs don't recognize. They're seeking the validation of the patriarchy. It's an old colonial idea.
I mean, the sex question as well worries me because I believe you can change sex.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, right. And even the allies that say, well, it's not about sex, it's about gender. And I'm thinking, bollocks,
no,
is it?
I used to say that because
it's about sex. I changed sex.
To
all intents and purposes. There's nothing masculine about any part of my sex anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like I used to make these little quips and jokes because that was my way around the out. Because I used to say I've got a very feminine penis. And that would play into, and I have this poem that I do occasionally, and it goes, and the main refrain is, I'm a transgender lesbian sperm producing female. And in any sort of people say, well, those words just don't make sense together, but they actually do describe something of my reality, even though
yes, of course,
not necessarily a lesbian. But I picked that word because it doesn't belong to anybody. And that was one of the reasons LGB Alliance wrote to my employer. And they actually wrote this letter which says I should not be identifying as a lesbian, even though I didn't actually, it was actually part of a poem. That was in the letter that they wrote. And I thought, this is insane. So
you don't have lesbian written on your badge at work, do you?
No,
so
exactly,
you'll have your name.
Yeah, I'll send you the letter that they got. You might have seen it actually, but because I post it quite often.
It bothered me at first years ago, but none of what they say to me bothers me at all now.
No, I'm immune.
I just heard it all before.
So heard it so many times. It's gone around the washing machine so many times.
Yes, because when I first encountered it, because it was really shocking to me because I'd seen it in right wing.
I mean, it's still shocking now, but we're just so used to it.
No, but
it just kind of washes over us.
I'd noticed right-wing stuff like Tommy Robinson kind of fanboys and all that would always kind of, but I didn't expect I didn't expect this gender critical thing to come along in the way it has. And I think part of it is propelled by the permissiveness of being able to use that language. Because if it was any other language, it does happen. I'm not saying people are not racist. I'm not saying people are not sexist, but there are certain things that people don't notice, like that we see as perfect, absolutely transphobic, then other perhaps cis people don't recognize, and it's that's the thing. So, like if I've had this conversation where somebody's misgendering me, and people say, "Well, but how would you identify? Are you a man or a woman?" It's like, well, I'm telling you what. If it says Frida and if it says she, her, that's a pretty good indication.
Yeah, there might be some clues though.
I don't want to argue that, but I tend not to. I tend not to put she, her in things now because I don't want that weapon, because they can use that as a weapon. So sometimes somebody will just say to me, "You're not a woman," out of nowhere, and I just say, "I never said I was. You made that fucking decision because of the way I look." You know what I mean? So I end up, but I do go in for it a bit. That was part of the problem for me, because I just kind of lean into the chaos of it a bit too much. When I've had a few drinks and I come home from a night out and put my computer on and just go, fucking bastards.
Yeah, see, I just spend a couple of minutes making funny jokes on people's expense and then just leave. Feeling smug about my funny joke I made about somebody, and that's it. Yeah. I don't let it take a lot of my time. because it's just not worth that. There are a bunch of
okay, let's talk about
things.
GRA reform. What do you think about that?
That's a bit of a jump.
Yeah, I think that in terms of what Scotland was doing was fantastic.
Yeah, totally agree.
Perfect, in fact, and should have been allowed to go free. I think the Tories used it not as an issue for the upcoming election to stick a wedge in, and also to test a power against Scotland that they've been itching to use for ages.
Yeah, and that case is coming up soon, I believe.
September.
Yeah, September.
I think Keir Starmer is as spineless as a jellyfish, and he's bowed down to
I used to defend him, I won't now.
He's a professional fence sitter.
I used to really defend Keir Starmer and say, give him a chance.
No, I left the Labour Party as soon as he became leader.
I think, Keir Starmer is the guy who tries to keep his face in the window as the window moves to the right. Keir's he's trying to keep his face in there.
Yeah, he's trying to remain. He's trying to be everything to everyone and being nothing to nobody.
Yeah, he's too much of a fence sitter, isn't he?
He is.
That's the problem.
If and when they get in power, it sounds like they're not going to do GRA now.
No, well, people keep saying, "I'll vote for Keir. He's just trying to stay away from it, and when he gets in power, things will change." And I'm looking at it thinking, "But that's just not true.
That's not what they're saying."
It's just not. It's not what he's going to do. He's not going to get into power and suddenly become Jeremy Corbyn.
No,
he's a right-wing person. He's in the wrong party.
See, what I'm hoping for is that Labour win, but they can only do it with, other parties, which will force them to do what we want them to do.
Yeah, maybe a coalition.
Yeah, do some kind of coalition that brings some of these issues that Labour's trying to move away from. They bring those back in, and they can kind of make some deal around that, which means we get what we want, and we also get rid of the Tories.
I don't have one. And I've got all the paperwork to be able to apply for one. I have my 2 doctors' letters and all the rest of it, but I don't want one at the moment. I don't want one under this system.
They say a very small percentage of trans people have done it, and I think that's because it doesn't really affect too many things. I think that the reason we want to fight for that bit of rights is because it kind of feels like the government is on our side. Like we are protected in a way from certain things. The only time it really mattered to me is when my dad passed away, and there was a lot of legal stuff, and that just went on forever because I was still his son in that will. So that was really difficult. So I think even a GRA might have not made a massive amount of difference, but that's what they were asking for constantly. The solicitors. Because it was quite complicated. So so I think I would like to see it itself, because the reason self-ID matters is because at the moment the only way to feel validated or like you have transitioned is to go through a medical process, and not everybody wants to go through that medical process.
Exactly.
You don't. You might choose to. That's part because people get confused with this as trans a choice. It's like, no, you don't opt in to being trans, but you may choose to have breast surgery. You may choose to go on hormones. You may choose to go and have a vaginoplasty, but that is not what being trans is. Whereas if you were just to be able to self-ID, that would take that pressure away. Because I don't want to have to go to a doctor just to rubber stamp my identity. I know,
it's like, why should you have to go to somebody else to prove what your identity is? It's totally ridiculous.
I mean, we have self-ID anyway.
Well, we do. Yeah, we do in a way.
They don't
we self-ID into being trans anyway, don't we?
Well, yeah. So they don't weigh your pancreas and see how much it is. If that's trans and that's cis. It's you go in. Someone was flabbergasted when I said this to them online. They said, "Well, they should be struck off." I said, "You go to the doctor. You tell them you're trans." And, or the person in the thing, they ask you a few questions, nod at you a few times, and then you walk out with another appointment to discuss which path you're going to take. for where you want to go next. It's self-ID.
Yeah. Well, I always remember, like, because I tried to come out and try when I was quite young. I was about 16, 17. My mum had to take me to a child psychiatrist because there wasn't really a gender clinic. There was one, and it was in London at King's Cross or something. And I had to see this psychiatrist, and I was quite frightened. And I was made to feel. I just remember feeling like if I say the wrong thing, he's going to put me in an asylum or something. And that's how it felt, because I was quite scared of everything. So I said, so I don't want to do it. But I sort of socially transitioned when I was at college.
What year was that?
Oh, God, 1996 or 1995 or 6. I can't remember, you know.
That's the same year that I actually went to see HX for the first time. And came out then. When I went to see my doctor then, it took like about 2 years for him to get him to write a referral to the gender clinic.
Yeah.
He sent me to 6 different psychiatrists, and
wow.
I had 6 months of psychosexual counselling. I saw a psychiatrist, like a psychologist.
What was going on in those appointments that you had then? What were they asking you?
They were just trying to convert me back to not being trans, I guess.
So it was basically trying to put you through conversion therapy.
Yes, it was essentially NHS conversion therapy.
Yeah, well, that's what they want to bring
done
back.
by my doctor, which is essentially what they're trying to do after the CAS report.
Yeah.
It was and then I went to my first appointment at CHX, and they kind of like told me that I'd have to wear this, I'd have to wear that. After 2 years, they might put me on hormones if they believe me.
Yeah,
and I just thought I can't do any more of this, so I went home and just
yes. I think for some people, the way that they talk about it, they think if somebody can change their identity, like say just your marker of male or female, it rips a hole in the space-time continuum. What is up is now down. What was black is now everything is it's not. It's just a delineation. My proposal, if I ever had any sort of power to change laws, I would say when a child is born, it's not male or female. Let that child decide what it wants to do and just follow its behaviors. You can call it whatever name you want, just don't be male or female. Because and to some people and even now it sounds quite like a radical idea, but actually it's not. It's just because we're so used to saying male or female. Because then they'll say, well, what did you say instead? And I was like, well, just call somebody a name, give them a name.
Yeah. I mean, by the time you're 3 anyway. So it's not like it's going to be a long wait for people.
I don't know about you. I just remember this really intrinsically very, very strong feeling, because I've got an older sister, that the way my sister's needs were met, it wasn't anything to do with clothes necessarily. That was part of it, but it wasn't. It was something about the way my mum talked to her. It was something the way my dad talked to my sister, the way that my sister's friends played with her, and I just wanted that for whatever. I can't explain it. I don't really need to, psychoanalyze it, but that's what I remember. It wasn't like I wanted to be a woman, because I didn't know what a woman was. I didn't know. It never entered my mind. I just saw the way that my sister was and the way she socialized and the way she spoke, and I thought, oh, that's how I'm going to be. So when I hit kind of puberty, I thought, I didn't want this. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not what I want. It's not what if I could choose it, I would get what my sister's got, and that was it. That was the only way I could sort of explain it, really. And I remember saying to my mum, like, I wanted to be Kathy, but she was like, well, we've already got a Kathy.
So I'll be freedom.
It's like when people say, when I was a child I wanted to be Superman, or don't understand. You didn't want to be you wanted to pretend to be Superman, but you didn't intrinsically know from the moment you could basically think that you thought you were Superman. It's not the same thing.
Well, this is why it goes back to this thing about, the story about children identifying as cats, and it was actually a story about school bullying. But the reason that is happening is because they want to link the idea that there's like a million different genders, and then children are identifying as cats. So they will say, well, when children identify as male or female, it's that.
We can dismiss it.
Yeah. And it also, it's a dehumanization kind of tactic. because I noticed in the news reporting of it, I'd seen the story before, and it had come out of America. There was an and it came out of I don't know if you've ever seen John Oliver. You know, he does This Week Tonight.
Yeah, I do watch John Oliver. Yeah,
and he did a really amazing show about transgender politics, and he showed these school I think they were like school commissioners. I'm not sure what they call them in America, like school patrons or whatever. And it was there are children identified as cats. And it was like you just realize how ridiculous these people are. But that like American politics is kind of like what happens there tends to happen here at some point in the future. Should I read? So I'd seen that story.
They had cat litter in the classroom to use like as a barrier in case there was a school shooting.
Yeah, I heard about
something
that,
like that.
Yeah,
put
that
up
was
against doors.
No. Yeah, the original
something like that. Yeah.
But it was so kids could go to the toilet if they needed to in a situation.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't. I'm not sure if it was that. There was this thing about fire buckets with sand in, but that story got mixed up with something else.
Yeah, I think that's a different thing.
Anyway, it's on.
But it's just nonsense.
Yeah, so
I mean, a cat's life's a pretty good life, though.
yeah. I mean, do you know what though? I think what they're doing there, especially in the story in the UK a couple of months ago, is they're actually demonizing the imagination of children. Like if a child says, "I want to be a cat," they're using their imagination to express something animal and anthropomorphic, is it? And
anthropomorphic.
That's always happened. What the hell is Beatrix Potter all about? You know what I mean? It's like children have those kind of imaginations where they imagine.
Of course, yeah.
When they you only have to look at Japanese culture with kids. You know, it's just what goes on there. It was no different.
Yeah, and like sometimes I mean, it's like when I go out for Halloween and I wear cat ears and a tail. Do I think I'm a cat? Maybe.
I don't know.
Are you a cat?
Do you go through somebody's cat flap, wander into their house,
well,
go up to the bedroom and fall asleep?
I did get on all fours and start rubbing my head on some bloke's legs. and then I got kicked out.
I wonder what you're doing in the theatre the other night.
Yeah. So well, we covered quite a lot there. I've waffled on quite a lot there.
We have.
I was going to say, so the music that you're doing, can we talk about the album that you're working on?
I'm working with like a couple of other people, like to admin, getting together some artists to put together an album to be released later in this year for trans people and allies to take part, hopefully for collaborations. And we are going to be releasing it for charity, but we're not saying which charity we're doing yet or anything else like that. Right. So but if people want to get involved, just hit me up on Twitter.
Yeah, so if you're doing it for charity, you could do it for the Frida Wallace Foundation, which I'm currently setting up.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, I am setting up a.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, because it will be my legacy. I'm putting Vicky in charge, obviously. So.
God.
But,
news to me.
Well, what I want to do is start a gender clinic where I just pull people I liking off the street and stab them with
trans them.
Yeah, don't cut that bit out, Vicky. Somebody will use that.
Don't cut that out, or do cut that out.
Yeah, I'm just going to drag people off the street and trans them.
Yeah,
and make
only adults. We only trans adults.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And only in Bolton.
And because I want to start my own little secret army of trans women, and they'll all go through the same process of plastic surgery. They'll all look the same, have the same tattoo as me. Yeah,
kind of like like when Saddam Hussein had a clone. You mean?
Yes.
So basically, you're just trying to clone people into more Fridas. Is that what you're doing?
I'm a what you call joy dictator. Not a.
So Kate, going forward, you'll be known as Frida number 3.
Anyway, so
do you have a message for the trans and non-binary people out there who may be suffering under this current nastiness that's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I know it sounds like a cliche or anything else like that, but this moment will pass
It will.
and things will improve. And
Mm,
it might seem dark, but
Mm.
at the end of every tunnel there's a light. So
Mm.
just keep keeping on, and we will get there.
Yeah, I think other people have said that. I think the
Yeah,
couple of
I
our
think
guests
it's
said
a
that.
common theme. Stick together.
I think when
Don't
you're
give up.
when you're entrenched in Twitter and whatever it is, Facebook, and it can feel like everything is like that, and everybody is just
I think
vexation.
we need to we need to reach out and support each other, and make sure everybody's okay, and
But I know
keep doing what we're doing.
I'm playing a long game. I'm gonna keep my eye on how this debate unfolds, and in say 10 years' time. Like, I'd love to know what Helen Joyce is doing, and I'd love to rock up at one of her late book signings to see what she's doing. And I'm going, "Oh, do you remember me? Still here, still trans."
I'm looking forward to the reparations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, there will be. That will definitely be coming.
Get those checks ready.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I had a dream the other night, right? I sounded like Martin Luther King then, but I had a dream, but that it was like a future, and my mum put the telly on, and there was like an Anne Widdecombe kind of figure going, "Oh, in 2022, they used to talk about trans people as if they were animals." I was like, and that'd be like, and the whole audience went, "Oh my God."
Well, hopefully everybody will have forgotten who J.K. Rowling is by then.
Oh God.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We call her the wizard lady. But I think the thing with J.K. Rowling is I think that she even if she wanted to change her mind and to look, this has gone too far, she's just
too late.
She's too protected by the right wing press now. Because did you
she's
see
in way
how
too deep for that?
Did you see how they used to treat her before? Because they used to show pictures of a house and go, "This is J.K. Rowling's £7 million yacht. Look at the state of this." And they don't do that to her anymore. They never touch her like that. And they protect her. It's like they absolutely love her. And I think she's got used to that kind of press kind of festooning her with accolades. It's like
I was watching a documentary about the Russians, the KGB guy, Lebedev,
Lebedev. It's got a great name.
Yevgeny Lebedev or something his name is.
Boris Johnson's
and he was
mate.
he was throwing parties for celebrities, and J.K. Rowling was at one of them.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I wasn't surprised.
No.
Tells you a lot, doesn't it?
The thing about all that is because it can kind of dominate the discourse, and it's really bad that it does, because it stops people thinking. Because if we start hating J.K. Rowling and just leaning into that, I think it makes her a kind of a cartoon hate figure, like the end of level boss of something. And it's like she gets off on that. I'm pretty sure she does.
Oh, I don't dislike her because she's anti-trans. I've always disliked her because
I've always known. Yeah,
I always hated Harry Potter. It was too much. It was everywhere. It drove me mad.
That's it. I totally
still is.
When I heard you've heard of Stuart Lee.
Stuart
Lee did the best ever Guardian article. I think it was a Guardian article. It might have just been one of his blogs, but he really it really gets to the heart of that, because it honestly, I'll have to send it to you. But yeah, I think we slagged enough people off in the last hour and hour. Is there anybody else?
I can't think of
just check the list. Hang on. No, I think we covered everything there.
Yeah.
So there is one more thing we need to do.
Which was one more thing.
You doing your song, are you?
Well, you're doing it as well.
Am I? Okay. I don't know how it goes.
Well, neither do we, but that doesn't stop us.
Well, no, don't worry. Nobody's ever been able to do it right yet. Oh, have you seen this? What I got?
Oh, a flag.
Wonderful.
It's a bed sheet.
Is it? Oh, well.
Right.
So, Frida, if you'd like to just give us a demonstration of how the song goes. I'm going to make
a dress out of this for Pride. Manchester Pride. Anyway, so the song goes... One, 2, 3. Don't forget to subscribe. Da, 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 da. So
it's just one line. That's it.
No, but that's the notation. Da, 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 da.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Right. So I'll just count us in.
Okay.
Right? Don't worry if you fudge it. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Don't forget
forget
to
to
subscribe. Oh, I think we hit a right note at the end there. I think see, we're musicians, Vicky, so.
Yeah, hang on. Which key is that? Let me just get my
Yeah.
pitch.
That was a
for-
diminished
Ding.
minor. Diminished minor.
Yeah, it was
Ah.
terrible as usual. What can I say?
Yeah, my fringe has gone off, Fluffy. What's going on? Right. I've had this
Well,
fringe
yeah.
cut in, and I keep looking at because normally my fringe is about here, but she went a bit mad, and she went.
Oh.
I said, I look like
It'll grow back.
I look one of the women's England team now.
So anyway, Kate, thanks for coming on and suffering us.
Thank you very much.
It's been
Bye.
great having you on,
Bye.
having our little chat.
Space Barbie says bye.
Space.
Goodbye, Space Barbie.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. It was great. To all our listeners and those who were brave enough to watch, thanks for watching once more. Please come back and watch again. I don't know who the next guest is, but there'll be another one coming along soon. So.
And thank you for tolerating us.
Yes.
I
will sign us off there. Thank you so much. Any last words, Frida?
I'm just saying bye to Space Barbie.
Bye to Space Barbie. Any last words from you, Kate?
No, bye.
You survived. We'll send you the t-shirt. I survived Gender Nebulous podcast.
Vicky, we're really going to have to practice this sign-off thing where, you know, like children's TV, go, bye, do that. Can we do that?
It's like, you know, people see it's the end. They're so happy. It's just like, get them off quick, you know.
This is
as the names go up.
Yeah.
Yeah.